Okay. Now, so we want to talk about more about the family life, mother and pop. Um, so, so you're born in 1933, living at that stage was at 48 Main Street, soon to become number 50, changing numbers. Yep. And then, so what did Pop do for a living? What sort of work?
He had many sort of jobs. During the war, he was an inspector of tools, inspector of, oh, it was a title, inspector of tools for making things for the army,
Yep.
for the forces. But he sometimes worked shift work, so he was coming home at odd times, and we all had to be terribly quiet when he was on night shift. Had to
Quiet
be
during the day.
daytime. Yeah.
But before the war, what jobs did he
I
have?
was pretty young at that stage, and I was only 6. I couldn't tell you.
Oh, you said that he sold pianos and...
He did that at some stage, but I'm not quite certain at what stage.
Okay.
Yes, he certainly sold pianos at Brash's in Melbourne, and he worked at the Melbourne Sports Depot, that was the MSD, and selling rackets and golf sticks and all sporting gear. He wasn't a sportsman, nor was he a pianist. But he was able to sell. He had a good personality.
Yeah. And flounder spears.
No, he made those.
Oh,
he certainly sold them. That was his own business. When all of the other work finished up and he wanted to be independent, he made flounder spears. He made parts for rifles.
Did he shoot at all? Was he a shooter?
Yes. Dad used to go claybird shooting.
Did he have a gun at home?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here's one thing. During the war, you told me that he built air raid shelters just in case.
Oh yes, people were being asked to, prepare for the worst. So Dad built this air raid shelter. It was under the shed, and he spent a lot of time digging it all out. Perhaps it wasn't under the shed, just beside the shed. And he dug and he dug and he dug, but Dad didn't know too much about drainage, and the thing always filled up like a swimming pool. It wasn't a successful air raid shelter, but he had, food in there, emergency food, and it was all very exciting.
Yeah. Oh, so it was fully stocked.
Oh yes.
Was there only one air raid shelter or two? I think Kevin was saying there was two. Was there one in the garden as well?
I can only remember one.
The one, okay.
Yes.
Did you ever spend the night down there?
No, you'd get wet.
You wouldn't starve.
No, you wouldn't starve. You'd get wet. Dad had another interesting thing in the garden there. He got one of the first rotary hydraulic clotheslines.
Hydraulic?
Hydraulic. So you turned on the tap at one end of the yard, and then there was another tap at the bottom of the clothesline.
Yeah.
And you turned on the tap to push it up, and you turned the other tap on to bring it down.
Oh, yeah. I have vague recollections of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was, those clotheslines, of course, were also useful for other type things. Like Kevin used to get a basket, and on each end of the clothesline, and he had guinea pigs in one basket and a cat in the other, and around it would go.
Okay. Oh, very good. And Mutter, did you know if she worked before she got married?
Well, she worked before she got married, but once you got married, it was a no-no. You did not work. It was not allowed. It was just expected that when you got married, you finished up. That was it.
What did she do?
She was a milliner. She did her apprenticeship as a milliner at Hicks Atkinson, a very select shop in Melbourne.
Now milliners make hats.
That's right. Yes.
Just explaining.
And she was a bit artistic.
Yeah.
With that sort of work, you'd have to be.
Yeah.
She preferred that, I think, to than front of shop selling stuff. I think she preferred to be in the back making.
Yeah.
And she got on quite well with that. She, as a young lady, she didn't have a mother, of course. Her mother died when she was about 18 months. And as a young lady, she didn't quite know what she wanted to do. And it was a friend of Umpy's who took her under her wing and said, come on, we're going into town and see what we can find for you. And she went with her when she went for the apprenticeship.
Okay. And then how did Mother and Pop meet each other?
You'd have to ask them.
Weren't you telling me that they both went to the same Sunday school?
They both went to the same Sunday school. And then I was beginning to think maybe they didn't. Maybe they went to different Sunday schools. But no, I can't tell you much about how they met.
Okay.
And there'd be nobody around now who could.
No.
Which is a bit unfortunate.
All right. And then, so in the 30s, you're living in Main Street, and then the war comes. Any memories of the war? The beginning of the war, or during, or end? Because you were very young then.
I was very young. I think that again was something a bit exciting. It was something different that was happening. And we were always glued to the radio to hear what was happening next with the war. It was also a bit annoying because you couldn't get everything that you wanted at the shops. Not that I was going shopping.
Well, because of rationing, or that just didn't exist?
Because of rationing, because everything went off to the troops. So there was a shortage of lots and lots of things. So that the troops would always have the best of everything they possibly could, which they deserved.
Yeah. Rationing carried on after the war, didn't it?
Yes, well, I can't remember it during the war, but I certainly remember it after the war. But I'd say it would have been during the war. We used to have ration books. Every person in the family had a book.
Even the kids?
Yes, yes. All had a book. Of course, with the kids, the mother just looked after them.
Yeah.
But you had so many tickets for butter, so much for sugar, so much for meat, and so much for linen, clothing. When people were getting married, that was a bit of a worry because getting enough ration tickets to buy a wedding dress was very, very difficult. Or to sew a wedding dress.
Did you supplement, or did the family supplement by having a veggie patch?
Yes, they did. Dad's war effort was a whole front garden full of artichokes. Front garden. I loved them. Not everybody likes artichokes. They look like ginger. You know, the ginger gnarly sort of thing. Yeah. Well, they looked a bit like that. So they took a lot of unpeeling because they were all twisted around. Yeah. And you just boiled them, and they tasted a little bit like marrow.
Yeah. But so he only grew artichokes?
Oh,
And then,
and in a later time, he had tomatoes in pot plants around the back. Not a huge amount of stuff. I think we always had silver beet and rhubarb.
yeah.
I think they were always in the
I
garden.
remember eating rhubarb at Mutter's place.
Yes.
Rhubarb and custard.
I can't remember having a chook yard. I can't see where it would have gone because we had two big sheds in the backyard.
Mm-hmm. You had a very big front yard as well.
Yeah, the whole block was big.
Pretty big. Yeah.
Not like today's size blocks, where the house takes up all the area and nothing else.
And where did you start at school?
I started at Blackie South.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin was already there, of course. He's 2.5 years older than me, and he was set up to take me to school. One day we're going to school across the paddock, and there is a great big animal, and I was terrified. I thought it was a bull. It wasn't. It was a cow. But I was terrified, and he more or less left me.
To get to school by yourself?
I can't remember if I got there or not, or if I went home and Mother had to walk me there.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of walking went on in those days. It would have been about 3/4 of a mile to get to school.
Yeah.
And, it would have been very convenient for Kevin to take me.
Did he take you on the first day, or did...
I can't remember that.
No, can't remember.
Can't remember.
Yeah. And so Blackburn, was it South?
Blackie South?
Blackie South. It's called Blackie South?
No,
okay, Blackburn South. So you were there until year 6?
No.
No?
I was there for 1 year.
Oh.
There were two rooms in this school. One was from 1 to 5, 1 to 5, and the other room was from 6 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
It was fairly small, as you can gather. And I was in the small room, of course. Kevin was in the bigger room. And it was all right. My memories of it, I was playing up, being a pest, jumped underneath the desk, put my hands on the top of the desk, and the next thing I knew, a ruler came on my hands.
Okay. That was your
from the teacher. Yes.
Can you remember her name?
No. I can't now.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And so you're only there one...
I was only there 1 year because there was a little boy who exposed himself at the back of the shelter shed. Mm-hmm. He was probably just having a wee, I don't know. But I went home and told Mother. And the world closed in. I thought this was dreadful. Off to the convent went Shirley.
All right. So you learnt never to tell your mother things like that again.
Oh dear. Yes.
Oh, so
then I went to the convent till year 8.
So from year 1 or year 2? Year 2 to year 8, you're at what was the name of the convent? Notre
Dame de Sion, which is now translated. It's still there, still translated to Our Lady of Sion.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And
this is a Catholic school.
That's a Catholic school. Yeah. I did extremely well in year 5, and then I dropped my bundle and went down in year 6. But year 5, I was top of the tree.
Yeah. And then you're expelled for not being a Catholic.
That's it. You're out.
Right. And so where did you go then?
Then it was very fortunate when Mother was looking for a place for me to go. And Fintona had just closed down their boarding school, and so there were some vacancies because it was pretty hard to get in to schools. There was not much in the way of high schools. There was one at Camberwell, which was further away than Fintona.
Yeah.
So, there weren't many choices, really.
Was it very far away, Fintona? Was it?
I rode my bike on at times.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't that far away.
At times. So other times you would catch a train.
Train and then walk.
Okay. So
Yes.
decent journey.
Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm. And you were at Fintona until the end of school?
Yes.
Which was
Year 5.
Form 5. So
Form 5.
what does
Yes.
that make it?
Leaving.
Year 11.
No, it was. I guess it was 11. It wasn't matriculation.
Mm-hmm.
They seemed to have this idea that if you were going to university, you went up to matriculation, but if you weren't, no need.
Yeah. Okay. And
Since I was going nursing, that.
So what age are we talking about here when you
17.
finished? You finished when you're 17. So that
Yes.
makes it 1950.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And now Dad tells the story that the best thing that you learned at Fintona was how to smoke like a lady. Is that story true?
No, because our headmistress smoked, but not like a lady.
You know?
She had a cigarette hanging out the side of her mouth.
It didn't use a cigarette holder.
No, just a cigarette, just hanging out of her mouth. It was.
So is that how?
She was a delightful person, though. She really was one of the people.
Mm.
You can gather she wasn't at all snooty. But her assistant principal was, and there was the lovely balance between them.
All right. And so did you learn how to smoke in Fintona?
No, I didn't smoke until I went nursing.
Oh, okay. All right. So that myth has been busted.
That blows that theory.
That's right. All right. And did you like Fintona?
I did. It seemed to me to be a very fair school where everybody was given a chance. Everybody was able to shine in a direction. Mm-hmm. And they'd give you a push along if you showed any aptitude in different things. Still, I get the Fintona newsletters. They have very good results.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
And if you did you find your niche then at Fintona? What was did they find your forte then? What was your favourite subjects?
Not exactly. I wasn't shining really at anything. I played basketball. That was something. Mm. But I didn't shine anywhere else. And also, the children today have a lot more opportunities in that when I was at school, mostly it was sit down and listen.
Right.
Whereas now at schools, they want you to give.
Interact.
And I wasn't in that lot where you gave out, which was also the prefects did wonderful jobs, and whenever anybody came to the school, they would introduce them and show them around as necessary, and also they'd give talks on this, that and the other thing as they needed to do. Mm-hmm. And the others didn't get that opportunity.
Okay.
But then they changed that. They didn't have prefects, they had senators.
Senators, right.
Senators was everybody in the senior class. Yep. All of them. So they were all given responsibility.
Okay. So you had responsibility then?
Not me. That's
after you left. Okay. All right. No, that's very good.
Oh, they were go ahead school. Miss Cunningham, the principal. She owned the school.
Now it sounds like Mutter was the driving force between, putting you to, first a Catholic school and then Fintona. Is that
Oh,
fair?
yes.
Mutter was
yes.
the...
Dad would always say, ask your mother, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yes, Mother really was the one who said what she wanted done.
Yeah.
And Dad just produced the money to do it.
Okay.
He was very good in that regard. But he was always able to produce the money.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very good. And so growing up at home, what sort of holidays did you go on?
Quite often, Mother would take Kevin and me to a boarding house somewhere, either down the beach or up to Marysville. There were several boarding houses up there, and they were all started with Mary. There's Marysville, Mary Lynn, Mary Lands. Can't remember the rest. But we did go to a couple of those at different times. We also went with a friend of Mother's and, their children. Dad never went.
Never went on holidays? Never
went on holidays with us. Dad went on his own. With his friends, he'd go on fishing trips. No, he didn't go with us. He wasn't a family man. He hadn't sort of been brought up as a member of the family. He was a loner, although he was one of 5. But he was still... did his own thing.
But he had a band of friends that he
he had a lot of friends.
With. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Did you think at the time that it was strange that?
Well, I used to say to Mother, look, with the people that we met at these boarding houses, holiday homes, I'd say, their father's coming for the weekend. Had to work during the week, but they'd come for the weekend. But Dad never did that, and he didn't want to.
Were you close to Pop? Or
I was fairly.
Yeah.
In that natural sort of father-daughter closeness, like mother's son was. That was very close. Yes, yeah, I was reasonably close with him, and I couldn't work him out at times. But we had a family of 5 because Mother and Dad, Kevin and me, and Umpy. And it's always a bit difficult having that other one that's not the direct family.
So did Umpy go on holidays with you or not?
No.
Didn't sound like it.
No. He went on holidays on his own. He went off to other cousins and things all around the countryside.
Yeah.
Oh yes, he'd move away, give Mother a break.
Yeah.
I don't know. He wasn't hard to look after, but just having that extra person just makes a difference.
Yeah. I guess it is like that. And he died in 1950 when you just finished school.
Yes. I was 17 and he was 87. He was 70 when I was born.
Yeah.
So I could always remember that.
Yeah. And did you have many parties and so on?
Yeah, we did. Mother and Dad used to entertain a fair bit. And Kevin and I had quite a few parties at home.
Yeah. And you two, Kevin and yourself, did you do things together?
We did until he got sick of me. the younger sister, come on, I'm doing my own thing. I don't want to be around with a young sister. No way. But before that, we did things together.
Yeah.
But we went in our different ways. I spent a lot of time at the church. I played basketball there at the church. And and all the other things that go. But Kevin didn't go in that direction. He spent a fair bit of time with the Scouts.
Mm-hmm. Then, when you left school, you went into nursing. What made you choose nursing?
I like people, and I think probably mother's influence once again, and also she didn't really want me dealing with older people, so the Children's Hospital seemed to be the answer to that one.
Ah,
I was only 17 and a half
yeah.
when I started nursing.
Mm.
So I'm pretty sure that's why I went to the children's.
Yeah, so it was really your mother or mother who was sort of suggested it as a good career, and
Yeah.
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 And so you applied directly to the Children's Hospital?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was absolutely no trouble. I could have got a job anywhere.
Yeah.
It seems so hard when people are looking for work now, and they try,
Yeah.
and I could have got a job anywhere, and I was not in any great shape.
Because there was a great, so many work. So post-war, so much work to do and not enough people to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you started work at the hospital, it was, and training, was that a live-in position?
Yes, definitely. The first 6 weeks was live-in at a Toorak mansion, which was an excitement on its own. And we used to bus into the hospital for lectures every day for the first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We did a little bit of ward work, but not very much. It was mainly in the school.
Mm.
That was the idea of it. And then after 6 weeks, we were accommodated at the hospital. And that was old buildings then, old terrace houses.
The hospital was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The terrace and the nurses' quarters were old terrace houses converted to the nurses.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been several hospitals since I was there.
I'm sure, yeah.
They moved out of that hospital completely. They built another one at Parkville, and now they've built another 2, I think, since I was there. Well, it's a long while ago. 60 years, isn't it?
So Parkville is where the McLennans were.
Yes.
Parkville.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And so how long were you a nurse for?
And not very long. It's really quite a short career. I did my training, which was 3.5 years, and then after I had completed the training, I was at that stage engaged to Bruce.
Yeah.
So I got a job at St George's Hospital in the theatre, and I worked there not for a long time. I can't remember how long, but eventually I got to the stage, and I used to get called out at night too from home. I lived at home then.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to get called out at night to go to the theatre if there was an emergency.
Mm.
And eventually I said to the matron, I really can't do this anymore because I'm getting married and the hours are too difficult.
When you were called out, how did you get to the hospital?
They sent a taxi for me.
Oh, right. Oh, very good. At home, or is this is when you're still at quarters? At home?
No, at home.
Oh, right. Oh.
At home in Blackburn.
Wow. That would have been very exciting as well, I guess.
It was. Yeah. It was interesting. I was called out for a cesarean for baby twins.
Yeah. Oh, very good.
That was exciting.
Yes, I'm sure it was, yeah. And who were your friends in the nursing?
I started off with Isabel, and Isabel is still a very dear friend.
Mm-hmm. Isabel McLennan.
Yes, and who else was there? There was the rest. I don't see too much of.
What, Judy
Yeah.
Freeman?
No, she wasn't in the same class as us to start with, but she finished up in the same class because she'd had sick leave.
Okay.
So she finished up with us.
Right.
So she virtually was with us.
Okay.
Hold that thought. What was that thought?
Isabel sending a letter.
Oh, yes. We're up in holidays in Brisbane, and Isabel sent a letter unbeknownst to me. I knew nothing about it. Mm-hmm. She and Val got their heads together and sent Bruce a letter saying, look, you'd better make your feelings known because we've met quite a few guys up here. We're having a lot of fun. And, lay me down, when we travel by train, when we got to the railway station, Spencer Street, there was Bruce waiting right at the train.
Oh, right. And what happened? Did he propose then?
No, not then. It's very soon afterwards.
Yeah. So tell me about the proposal then.
Oh, I couldn't. Oh, yes, I could. We were in the Vauxhall.
Vauxhall being a car.
Vauxhall being the car. And it was only a fairly small car, and he was in the driving seat, and I was beside him. And he sort of leant over, all getting ready for the proposal, you know,
Yeah.
I wrote all this, and he got a cramp.
Really?
Yes, I do remember that. I do remember the proposal.
Okay. And so was it a shock that Dad proposed?
To me.
Yeah, to you, yes.
Shock to me.
Yeah.
Not really. No. We'd been getting along quite well.
Okay.
And I'd always admired him because he was 7 years older than me. So, you see, when I met him when I was about 12, he was a big man of 19.
Right.
So, you know, I was only a little girl when I first met him.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you were engaged, and how long until you were married?
Oh, that was interesting too, because I think we were engaged about the June, and then we were going to get married the next year. So it might have been 18 months we were engaged. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But we were building a house, and Bruce said, you know, we'll get married when the house is ready. And as in building always happens, things slow down, and it didn't get quite ready on time. And it was getting right towards the end of the year, and I said to him, Bruce, we're either going to get married this year or not.
Okay. So the ultimatum.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So he, in those days, I can't think of the term, it might come to me later. The house, the garage was finished. He and his father put a concrete floor down in the garage. And so that was finished, and that's where we moved into. We moved into the garage while the house was being finished.
Yeah.
And one day, we used a bit of the kitchen too, I think. One day we were doing something, and he said, need a breadboard. Went out to the pile of rubbish wood outside and made a breadboard on the instant.
Oh, very good. So the wedding preparations and so on were very quick then, after you gave the ultimatum.
Well, normally you need a month. That's what it used to be. to give people notice, you would send out the invitations a month ahead. So that would have been in the
Only a
November.
month.
Only a month.
Right.
Yes, because now they do it a lot earlier.
Yeah, like 6 months.
Yes,
Yeah.
that wasn't the case.
Mm.
It was just 1 month.
Right. Okay.
And of course, we didn't suit everybody because the wedding. I don't know how that happened. The wedding was the 2nd of December, 1955, and there was one uncle who. Oh, and also it was a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
One uncle, it didn't suit him one little bit because he wanted to go to the football.
Oh.
But why would he go to football on a Friday night?
Maybe it was training.
I don't know.
Who was that uncle?
Uncle Carl, mother's brother.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. And so he didn't go to the wedding?
Oh, eventually he did. Yes, he
Can you remember the wedding? Can you remember it at all?
Yeah, roughly. We were married in St John's Church of England, Blackburn. We were married by the local minister, who was Mr Miller, and also Bruce's friend, who was a minister.
Oh, okay.
That's Arthur Harvey.
Yeah.
Would ring any bells with you?
No.
Arthur Harvey and his wife and 4 children came to visit us quite a few times at Brand Street. We went to visit them down in Melbourne. Yeah. But he was a minister. He's gone.
Yeah.
Too. His wife's still around.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that. I mean, not many people had two ministers, but I wanted to have Arthur. Actually, Mr Miller said he didn't mind if Arthur just did it. But I said, oh no, you're my minister, so he did it too.
Who were your bridesmaids?
Bridesmaid was Gladys and Heather Craig. Heather Craig was a Blackburn lass who I had known for many years.
I don't think you've mentioned Gladys before. What's her name?
Gladys, she was Gladys Lang. Her father was a chemist in Toorak Road, South Camberwell.
Toorak Road, where Umpy had a shop. Oh, right.
Well, one end to the other.
Yeah.
It's a huge road.
Right.
Huge road. She was there. And then she married a chappie called come on, son's Julian. Now, what was his name?
But she's changed her name since, hasn't she?
They separated.
Yeah.
And eventually divorced, and she changed her name to Julie Wentworth, which I couldn't understand. I thought that was rude. The parents give you your name, and then you say, no, I don't like that. Throw it out the window. Isn't that rude? Yes.
Yep. That's what happens, I guess.
Yeah. We had the reception in Whitehorse Road, Blackburn, at a reception place. And it was very, very simple by today's standards, but by their past standards, it was normal. There was sort of a couple of slices of meat and salad and a little bit of potato salad, and that was it. And then there was, I think, fruit salad and ice cream.
Yeah.
And they also had a bowl of little cakes on the table. Very, very simple. And we were sitting at the long table, and directly behind us there was the ladies' room with a great big sign on it.
Oh, right.
Ladies,
Okay.
that was in all the photos.
Oh, lovely. I don't think I've seen any of those photos. Yeah.
I've got an album downstairs.
Okay. Yeah, very good.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you're married, and now I thought the story was that Grandpa gave you and Dad a block of land
He
for
did.
at your wedding, but it must have been before that.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
must have, because
you were building
we were
already.
building on it.
Yeah.
So he divided the land. Oh, he gave each of the daughters and Bruce a block of land.
Mm-hmm.
We got the best one,
Yeah, on the corner of
Dunlaven Road
and.
and Bruce Street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nothing to do with our Bruce.
No,
It just happened to be.
was it the Prime Minister Bruce?
That's right, Bruce Page. The next street along was Page.
Right.
And the Bruce
Okay.
Page Ministry.
Right. Oh, I see. Right.
Mm.
And so you've already said about building building a house, and then shortly after Fiona comes along.
Mm.
Oh, and I should say so, and work. You left work once you got married.
No. My generation. That was fine. It was Mother's generation, where they had to leave work.
Oh,
I didn't leave work. I was working at a doctor's surgery. I had given up the theatre job at
Right.
St George's, and I was working at a doctor's surgery. And I used to occasionally ride to work
Mm-hmm.
on my bike. And the doctor came in one day and he said, "Who's that bike belong to?" I said, "Did you ride that bike?" "Yeah." "You're not to ride." Because I was heavily pregnant.
Oh, riding a bike.
Mm.
But okay, you've had a couple of bike accidents.
Yes.
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 What was the first one?
The first one was a three-wheeler bike, and I would have only been about 7.
Oh, okay.
And it was the screw on the three-wheeler bike that holds the handlebars on.
Yeah.
And it was raw. It was sharp end, and I was going as fast as I can, and I shot through my leg.
Right.
And I had about 13 stitches there.
Mm-hmm.
And Mother had to carry me everywhere for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't very good. The second bike accident was when I was, how old was I? It was before Peter, after you.
Mm-hmm.
So what was I, 31 something?
Right, yeah.
And my next door neighbour, a very obliging chappie, fixed up this bike and renovated it all.
Mm.
And it was all very lovely, and I went with him out for a ride just to check it over.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when I was on the road, there was a car veered straight across the road at me, and I went the other way, and anyway we collided.
Head on with the car.
Yeah, and I was thrown in the air, and Robert told me afterwards, this is Robert, neighbour,
Gamble.
and saying, "Mrs. Mac, come down.
Oh, so you were riding with Robert Gamble?
Yes.
Oh, okay, right.
Yes. And it turned out that the chappie who hit me was probably dozing.
Mm.
He was a long distance driver.
Right.
And he'd been out, so.
Do you remember the accident, or were you knocked out?
I was knocked out. I think I remember what people tell me now.
Mm.
I can almost see that going where I was.
Yeah.
I should have gone the other way, but I went that way.
Where were you? You near home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite near home.
Yeah. On a main road, or is it?
Yeah, pretty big road.
Can you remember?
Mitcham Road.
It was Mitcham Road. Okay. And so you're in hospital.
I was in hospital for quite some time.
How long?
Children were spread around the countryside.
How long were you in hospital for?
I don't know. I can't remember that.
Mm.
It was a while. You were with Auntie Olive.
Mm-hmm. So for the whole time you were in hospital, the kids were...
No, you weren't with Auntie Olive. You were?
Mm.
Oh, yes, you were only a baby.
Yeah.
Yes, you were with Auntie Olive.
Mm-hmm.
Robert was with Maureen.
Maureen
Gemmell.
next door.
Oh, she was Maureen McIntyre and Macintosh. At that stage, she was married. And Fiona was with Grandma. Oh, Fiona and Heather were both with Grandma.
Grandma and Grandpa, right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So it would have been a very traumatic time.
It was for everybody.
For everyone.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, Mother was minding you,
Mm-hmm.
and she had a turn.
Oh, okay. And that's why I went off.
That's why you went to Kingdom Olives.
Right.
Yes.
What do you mean a turn?
Well, somebody arrived at the door and she collapsed in a heap. I don't know if it was heart or what it was.
Stress, probably.
I would say that'd be it.
Yeah. And so your hospitals, you had damage to your legs and so on.
Yeah. Yes, the other leg this time.
Mm-hmm. And
broken ankle, I think.
Yeah. Were you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
No, then in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I went into the Alfred Hospital in town.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I went to Box Hill Hospital at all.
Yeah. So it was quite a serious accident.
Yes, serious enough.
Mm-hmm. And then when you left, everyone came back home?
Yes.
Straight away? That would have been quite hard?
I had some help in the house at that stage. I think that's probably when I got Mrs. Roberts, who came in to help clean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the neighbours helped, I presume?
Oh, Ginny was always helpful.
And Grandma and Grandpa just up the road?
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's best forgotten, I think.
Well, it happened. That's
certainly
fine.
Did. I think I had head injuries too.
Why? What happened? How do you mean?
Well, they gave me shock treatment for a week.
As part of your bike accident recovery.
Yeah, while I was in hospital.
Yeah.
And then when the week was up, the doctor came in and he apologised to me.
Yeah.
And I thought, what's he on about?
Can you remember that? Can you
Yes.
remember getting shock treatment?
Yeah, I can.
Oh dear.
I can. And I had one of my friends, Val, who I mentioned before, who went up to Brisbane with us.
Yeah.
She went in there to visit me, and she tore strips off the nurses. And, don't you dare leave Mrs. McLennan's lunch there without helping her or something.
But why do they need to give you shock treatment? Were you?
Because I went crazy.
Oh, okay, right.
I would say.
Yeah.
And so they thought, they need to get her out of this. But really, I just had head injuries.
Yeah.
And all I needed was rest, thank you very much, not shock treatment.
Well, I imagine back then, obviously they had, you wouldn't have been wearing a helmet or anything like that.
No.
And almost certainly you would have hit your head in the accident.
Would have had to. But it was strange when the doctor came in and apologised. That's interesting.
What did Dad say? What did Dad say about that? What was his view?
I don't know.
Didn't talk about it? No.
No, I haven't got any memory of that at all.
Yeah.
He was so busy running from place to place to visit you children, that he really didn't have much
And
time.
working, I presume, as well.
And working.
Yeah.
So he didn't have much time to do anything else. There was a court case.
Oh, yeah.
I did get some compensation.
Did you have to go to court? Was it actually, or was it managed out of court?
I can't remember going to court. I think I would remember that.
So it was probably settled out of court.
Yeah.
And so you can't remember how long you were in hospital for, so it must have been a fair time.
I think it could have been a month. Could have been 6 weeks. And it could have been 3. I really don't know.
Right, okay. And any long-term effects after that, like the traumatic accident like that?
Don't know.
Don't know.
No, I don't know.
So this is in the early 60s, so this must be like 63 or so.
Yes.
Oh, you weren't...
Yes,
were you pregnant with Peter?
No. When I came out of hospital, I got pregnant immediately.
Oh, okay. All right. And then of course the big changes with the Mint, where the Mint was moving to Canberra.
That's right.
Can you tell me a bit about that?
That's right. That was only a year after all of that, which is pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
What you can get through. Yes, we got notification that the Mint was moving, and Dad was offered a job. Or for a while, everything was up in the air for a while, and it was a bit of a worry for him and for all the people.
Whether he had a job at all.
Yes, they were wanting the current staff, but the idea of going to live and work in Canberra really pleased us no end, because I don't know about Bruce, but when I got married, I thought that was it. We would live in that little house forever.
Yeah.
And that was my thinking, but to have something different offered to us was really something, and it wasn't anything that was going to cost us a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because they provided the housing. They gave us a choice of 3 houses, and we needed 4 bedrooms at that stage because we had 5 children. And there was a group of us went up to Canberra. The husband and wives were all sent up to Canberra by air to have a look around the place, to have a look at the houses that were available and the ones that we were to choose from.
Yeah. And
they also did the tourist bit, taking us around, and we stayed in the best hotel. There's your lovely holiday that didn't cost us a bean.
Yeah. And without kids, I presume.
Yeah, there was one of them, the Crosbys, I think they had one baby because she was feeding it, I think.
Yeah.
So I think she had a baby with her, but we didn't have any of your children with us. And we chose the house and saw the Mint and all the sheep grazing around the Mint.
There's sheep grazing around
Sheep,
there?
yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. It was right in the country.
And
there was 70,000 people in Canberra at the time, and we left a shire of Blackburn Mitcham of 70,000.
Right. Okay. So like for like.
Yes, except the shire that we're in was fairly small, whereas Canberra was spread out a bit further.
And the Blackburn Shire was part of...
that was a separate
Melbourne.
one.
Oh, Mitcham.
No.
Right.
Oh, was it? It was at one stage and then it wasn't.
Yeah, okay.
Box Hill and then Blackburn, Nunawading, Mitcham.
Yeah. Okay. And so you picked a house?
We chose the house. then we sort of measured it up. Yes, we can fit this here, that here, and everything else, and decided what we would bring and what we would leave.
Where
And
did you?
they provided transport for our goods.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
But which house did you pick?
the 4-bedroom one in Curtin. There was another one up at Dixon, which was a fair way away from the Mint, and we didn't really want to be that far away.
Mm-hmm.
But Bruce didn't want to be right at the Mint, which was Hughes, because he felt there would be too many of the staff around. And as it turned out, we decided after a few months that really that house wasn't quite big enough. We'd either have to build on or get another house, build a house. So we went to Hughes, and we were surrounded by Mint people.
Yeah. I guess it, and well, I guess it's a sense of community as well. You
Hughes was a lovely community.
Brand new school and everything. So how long were we in Curtin for?
Only a year.
Right, and we were the second house occupied in Curtin.
Yes.
Who was the first house?
I don't know.
They weren't neighbours. They were miles away.
No, they were around. They were the house up there.
Oh, righto. And did Heather and Fiona and Robert go to Curtin at all? Curtin School?
No.
No. So they started in Hughes.
Yeah, there wasn't a school at Curtin.
Oh, there wasn't a school.
No.
It was at Hughes. Oh, okay. I didn't know.
They had to go across.
Oh, right.
Across the creek.
Oh, they walked?
Yes.
Wow, it's a fair walk. Yeah,
Now, kids used to do that.
walk to school. Yeah.